mean, he loved being in the army, absolutely loved it. For them to then turn around and say, thanks very much, but you're no good to us anymore because you just can't do the job that we want you to do. I mean, that's a real kick in the guts. That's where there was no help. That's, I think, where it all sort of started to fall apart for him. And I think it just made it worse and it aggravated him. I mean, how are we supposed to deal with it? Like, he wasn't getting any help. All he kept getting given was more and more pills, medication. And, of course, when that wasn't working, he would drink. So they self-medicate anyway. And he was over-medicating. And so where was the assistance, like, for the family?
It was a pretty big shock, really, because, I was just going to the doctor because I thought I had a sore shoulder. And, but it wasn't like I just went to the doctor and then they said, oh, you're medically discharged. It was like a series of events, and found out that, my shoulder, my neck was the cause of my shoulder pain and all this sort of stuff, and then I couldn't be a grunt anymore, so it was all like, that was pretty hard to handle because that's all I wanted to do. Just climb around the mud for a while, be like a big kid, but that wasn't so bad. Well, it was bad, but we got over that, and then thought, I'll find another job in the army, something else I can do at, just corps transfer. But then I found out that I wasn't fit enough for any job in the army, so that was pretty hard. And then, of course, like most people, I'd abused alcohol and prescription medication and both together and all that sort of stuff, and it was just a really hard pill to swallow that I wasn't capable of going back overseas with my mates and all that sort of stuff again. So, but that, as far as the family, they copped the brunt of that because I was drunk and wasn't very happy, and going to do ridiculous things, and just got a bit out of control. And I think it was just put to me that pretty much sort of like give up the drinking, or we're gonna have to move out, and that's fair enough because I was just getting worse and worse.
You've got someone that's just come home and said they don't want me anymore, I'm useless to them, and then you have to change your whole life. All of a sudden it's like, if you're in a DHA house, you then have to go, we have to move. What are we going to do? How do we do this? And that's stressful enough as it is, but added on to that, you've now got someone who's, in need of medical as well as, psychological attention, and it's kind of like, who do I call? There's no one, and there's absolutely no one to call. I mean, they can turn around and say, you can ring up VVCS, but it's then, no, your partner actually has to recommend you to go through that process. And it's like, well, surely there should be like a hotline for partners to say, look, I'm finding it a little bit difficult at the moment. I just need some assistance, or I just need someone to talk to. I don't know what goes through his head. I have a fair idea of what goes through his head, and a lot of the times that scares you. You sort of think, do I go to work today? Do I not? What are the implications of me not going to work? And you can't say anything like, I know we can't do that because I can't afford it. And then they then blame themselves. Everything comes back to, that's all my fault. That's my fault. That's my fault. That's my fault. That's my fault. And it's a vicious, it's a terrible way to live. It is really, really terrible way to live. I mean, it's taken me probably a year, I think, to admit that I have depression because of it. I mean, that's a really, really hard thing to admit. And I had to tell Scott because I was almost like at a bit of a breaking point where I thought, I don't know how I can deal with all of this. Where do I get help? And Do you know, the best help I got was from a GP, actually. She was fantastic. Like, I just went in there and she just asked all the right questions. She said, now what's the real reason why you're here? And I just said to her, I think I have depression. And she said, well, don't feel so surprised. She says, why wouldn't you? She said, look what you have to deal with.
PTSD is something where you've had a traumatic experience, and PTSD is what's changed you after having that traumatic experience, and it changes how you act around things and how you see things, really. When I explain to my mates about PTSD and like my dad how he can't come to football games anymore, I just say that he was in the army and when he came back it wasn't really the same for him, and he's always cautious of other people. He can't really cope with other people being so close to him and stuff like that, and the noises. It gives him flashbacks and stuff like that of when he was overseas.
I think that's like when he had whiskey, that's what gave me the greatest relief, was that all of a sudden he would get out of bed and he would start walking, and he actually started to open up to people a bit more, because, you know, when you've got a dog, you know, people would go, oh, you know, what's the dog for? Or sometimes he'd talk, sometimes he wouldn't. But I was able to then go, he's okay because he loves that dog, and I don't think that he would do anything, to hurt the dog or hurt himself, or, you know, just leave the dog all by himself if he went and did something. So I think in that way, that was kind of where I started to kind of slowly climb back and go, okay, I can deal with this a little bit better. He still suffers a bit, but at least I can go to work a bit more and, you know, not have to worry about it.
The main service that which provides is we provide service dogs, like training and trained service dogs for veterans and first responders that suffer with PTSD and other related illnesses. The main role of like the service dog, unlike most assistance dogs, is that like a service dog has 3 specific tasks that is required for the recipient itself. So a service dog is more like tailored to the individual rather than just being across the board same trained. So we're more specialised for the recipient.
Miles has really changed my life. He's brought responsibility, love, caring into my life. I look after him. I've got an obligation to make sure he's safe and well, and he has an obligation to me, which he abides by. It's just fantastic having him.
The way that Scott sort of deals with it is by helping others. It's actually his therapy and trying to help with his own PTSD. And I think maybe that's mine as well. It's like,
it makes me happy because we've helped so many people, and like true to life stories of saving people's lives. Like has made such a difference and that sort of thing. And, you know, that's pretty cool.